Welcome back, dear friends, to our quiet sanctuary where the shadows of the past meet the light of our curiosity. Tonight, we are opening a heavy, iron-bound door. We are stepping out of the bright, organized world of modern science and into a room filled with the smell of sulfur, charcoal, and ancient dried herbs. We are entering the Alchemist's studio. Close your eyes and imagine a room illuminated only by the low, orange glow of a furnace known as the Athanor. The walls are lined with glass vessels of strange shapes, retorts, alembics, and crucibles, some bubbling with iridescent liquids, others coated in a fine, silvery dust. This is the birthplace of the modern world, a place where science was still a mystery and where the chemist was a magician. In the Renaissance, alchemy was not just about turning lead into gold. That was merely the outer work. The true alchemist was searching for the Magnum Opus, the great work. They were looking for the philosopher's stone, a substance that could perfect anything it touched, turning base metals into gold and mortal bodies into eternal ones. It was a quest for the soul of matter, a secret language of symbols, dragons, and celestial kings. Tonight, as you settle into your deepest state of relaxation, imagine the steady, rhythmic hiss of the bellows. Feel the warmth of the furnace against your skin. We are going to decode the secret art of the laboratory, the hidden meanings inside the paintings of the masters, and the strange, beautiful dreams of the men who tried to capture the stars in a glass jar. Let us begin our meditation on the secret language of Renaissance science. 1. The smoldering fire, the alchemist's Athanor. At the heart of every studio stood the Athanor. It was more than just a furnace. It was the tower of fire. To the alchemist, fire was the primary tool of transformation. It was the sulfur of the universe, the active, masculine force that could break things down so they could be reborn. The alchemist did not just cook substances. They spoke of digestion, calcination, and sublimation. The heat had to be precise, steady, and enduring. They would sit for days, weeks, even months, watching a single flask. Imagine the patience required, the slow, rhythmic ticking of time in a room where a single degree of heat could mean the difference between discovery and disaster. The Athanor was often shaped like a small tower, symbolizing the human body or the cosmos. The alchemist believed that by refining the metals inside the fire, they were also refining their own spirit. As the lead melted and the impurities rose to the surface, the alchemist visualized their own flaws being burned away. Think of the sound of the coals settling, a soft, metallic clink in the silence. The light of the fire creates dancing shadows on the stone walls. In this room, there is no rush. Everything moves at the speed of the flame. Feel your own internal heat, your own steady pulse, as you sit beside the furnace, waiting for the first sign of change. 2. The language of shadows, decoding the symbols. Alchemists were masters of secrecy. They lived in a world where heretical ideas could be dangerous and where their secrets were worth more than kingdoms. To protect their knowledge, they created a vast, artistic language of symbols. They never said Mercury when they could say the gray wolf. They never said gold when they could say the solar king. When you look at a Renaissance alchemical manuscript, you are looking at some of the most surreal and beautiful art ever created. You might see a dragon eating its own tail, the Ouroboros, representing the eternal cycle of nature. You might see a king and a queen joined in a chemical wedding, symbolizing the union of opposites, the sun and the moon, the soul and the spirit. These were not just pretty pictures, they were technical manuals. Each color represented a stage of the work. Nigredo, the blackness, was the stage of decay and death. Albedo, the whiteness, was the stage of purification. And rubedo, the redness, was the final, triumphant stage of perfection. Imagine the alchemist dipping a quill into dark ink, carefully drawing a bird taking flight from a skull. To a stranger, it is a mystery. To the alchemist, it is the secret of sublimation, how to turn a solid into a vapor. As you wander through this library of symbols in your mind, notice how they feel familiar. They are the symbols of our dreams. They are the language of the unconscious, waiting to be read in the quiet of the night. 3. The Magnum Opus, the 4 stages of the soul. The great work was a journey through the colors of existence. The first stage, Nigredo, was the most difficult. It required the death of the matter. The substance was heated until it turned into a black, foul-smelling mass. The alchemist called this the raven's head. It represented the dark night of the soul, the moment when everything we think we know falls apart. But out of the blackness came the albedo. As the heat continued, the matter began to wash itself. It would turn a brilliant, pearly white. The alchemist called this the white swan. It was the stage of clarity, of washing away the ego and finding the pure, essential self beneath the noise of the world. Next came the citrinitas, the yellowing. This was the moment when the light of the sun began to enter the work. It was a stage of transition where the spirit began to take hold of the matter. And finally, the rubedo. The matter would flare into a deep ruby red. This was the birth of the philosopher's stone. It was the phoenix rising from the ashes. Think of these stages as you drift towards sleep. Feel yourself letting go of the blackness of the day's worries. Wash them away until your thoughts are as white and pure as the albedo. Let the warm, golden light of the citrinitas fill your mind, preparing you for the deep, vibrant rest of the rubedo. You are undergoing your own great work every single night as you sleep. 4. Paracelsus, the rebel alchemist. In the early 16th century, a man named Philippus Aureolus Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim thankfully known to us as Paracelsus, revolutionized the studio. He was a man of fire, a doctor who believed that the body itself was an alchemical laboratory. Paracelsus threw away the ancient books and looked instead to the plants and minerals of the earth. He believed in the tria prima, the three primary substances of all things: salt, sulfur, and mercury. Salt was the body, sulfur was the soul, and mercury was the spirit. To heal a person, one had to find the mathematical balance between these three. Imagine Paracelsus wandering through the mountains of Switzerland, gathering herbs at midnight, or crushing minerals in a heavy iron mortar. He believed that the stars signed the plants with their own likeness. A heart-shaped leaf could heal the heart. A yellow flower could heal the liver. This was the doctrine of signatures. Paracelsus was a bridge between the ancient magic and the new science. He was the first to use chemicals as medicine. In his studio, the air was filled with the scents of lavender, rosemary, and crushed lead. As you imagine the quiet, focused energy of his work, feel the salt of your own body settling into the mattress. Feel the sulfur of your emotions cooling, and the mercury of your mind becoming still. 5. The Alchemist's Art, Masterpieces of the Studio. The influence of alchemy was not limited to the laboratory. Some of the greatest painters of the Renaissance were deeply involved in the secret science. Look at the works of Hieronymus Bosch or Peter Bruegel. Their paintings are filled with alchemical vessels, strange, bubbling furnaces, and hybrid creatures that look like they were pulled directly from a distillation flask. Even Leonardo da Vinci was fascinated by the way substances changed form. He spent years studying the way water turned into mist and how fire turned wood into smoke and ash. In his notebooks, he wrote about the transmutation of colors, searching for pigments that would never fade. The art of the alchemist was the art of the hidden. They believed that the world was a palimpsest, a surface with a deeper, older story written underneath. When you look at a painting from this era, notice the background. There might be a small, glowing mountain or a stream flowing from a cave. These are alchemical signs, whispering to the viewer that there is more to this world than meets the eye. Think of the way oil paint is made, the grinding of minerals into fine powder, the mixing with flaxseed oil. The act of painting is itself an alchemical process. The artist takes the dust of the earth and turns it into a vision of heaven. As you sink deeper into your bed, imagine your own life as a canvas, where every experience is a pigment, being refined and blended into a masterpiece of time. 6. Isaac Newton, the Last Sorcerer. One of the greatest juicy secrets of history is that the father of modern physics, Sir Isaac Newton, was a dedicated alchemist. For decades, Newton spent more time in his laboratory at Cambridge smelling of sulfur than he did studying the stars or the laws of gravity. After his death, a chest was found containing millions of words written in his hand, all about alchemy. He was obsessed with the Emerald Tablet, an ancient text that claimed to hold the secrets of the universe. Newton believed that by studying the ancient myths, he could find the mathematical laws that God used to build the world. Imagine Newton, late at night, his face pale in the light of a single candle. He is trying to create the sophic mercury, a substance that would act as a solvent for all other metals. He saw no contradiction between the law of gravity and the secret of the stone. To him, they were the same thing, the search for the underlying, invisible structure of reality. Newton reminds us that the hidden world is not separate from the real world. They are two sides of the same coin. The logic of the prism and the mystery of the crucible lived together in his mind. As you drift off, think of the layers of your own knowledge. Underneath the logic of your daily life, there is a deeper, older curiosity, a part of you that still believes in the magic of the unknown. 7. The Laboratory of the Mind, Alchemy and Psychology. In the 20th century, the great psychologist Carl Jung realized that alchemy was never just about chemistry. He spent the last 30 years of his life studying alchemical texts, realizing that the alchemists were actually describing the process of individuation, the journey toward becoming a whole human being. The lead was the heavy, unformed ego. The gold was the enlightened self. The chemical wedding was the union of the conscious and the unconscious mind. The alchemists were the first psychologists, using the language of metals to describe the interior movements of the human soul. When the alchemists spoke of dissolving a metal, they were talking about breaking down our old, rigid habits. When they spoke of coagulating, they were talking about building a new, stronger character. The studio was a mirror for the mind. As you prepare for sleep, think of your bedroom as your own personal Athanor. This is the place where you dissolve the day. Your dreams are the distillation of your thoughts, separating the important from the trivial, the gold from the dross. Feel the peace that comes from knowing that even as you rest, your mind is at work, refining your spirit, preparing you to wake up as a new metal, a little more golden than you were before. 8. The tools of the trade, retorts and alembics. Let us linger for a moment on the beautiful objects of the studio. The alembic, with its long, curved neck like a glass swan. Its purpose was distillation, heating a liquid until it turned to vapor, and then letting it cool and drip, drop by drop, into a new vessel. The alchemists called this the spirit of the substance. They believed that by distilling a liquid thousands of times, they could reach its quintessence, the fifth element, the pure life force that animated all matter. Then there was the crucible, a small, thick-walled pot made of clay and graphite, designed to withstand the highest temperatures of the furnace. This is where the metals were tried. If a substance could survive the fire of the crucible, it was considered noble. Imagine the sound of the glass clinking, the gentle drip, drip, drip of the distillate. It is a slow, hypnotic rhythm. In the alchemist's studio, there is no noise, only the sound of the work. The world outside, with its wars and its commerce, feels 1,000 miles away. Here, there is only the glass, the fire, and the mystery. As you breathe in and out, imagine your breath as a form of distillation. With every exhale, you are releasing the vapors of tension. With every inhale, you are bringing in the quintessence of calm. Your body is the vessel, and you are perfectly contained, perfectly safe, and perfectly at rest. 9. The Emerald Tablet, the Universal Law. At the center of the alchemist's faith was a single, short text called the Emerald Tablet. Legend says it was written by Hermes Trismegistus on a plate of solid emerald using a diamond stylus. It contained the most famous sentence in the history of the occult: "As above, so below." To the alchemist, this was the ultimate mathematical law. It meant that the movements of the planets, the above, were reflected in the movements of the metals in the earth, the below. It meant that the structure of a single atom was a mirror for the structure of the entire galaxy. This idea gave the alchemist a profound sense of connection. They were never alone. When they worked in their studio, they were in sync with the stars. When they studied a piece of lead, they were studying the heart of the universe. Think of that phrase as you close your eyes. As above, so below. Your internal world is a reflection of the peaceful night sky. The stars are quiet, and so are you. The universe is at rest, and so are you. There is a deep mathematical harmony between your spirit and the infinite space of the cosmos. You are a part of the great work, a necessary piece of the universal design. 10. The Alchemist's Garden, Nature's Laboratory. Not all alchemy happened in a room with a furnace. Many alchemists believed that nature was the greatest studio of all. They would spend hours in their gardens, watching the way a seed dissolved in the earth to become a tree, or how the dew distilled on a leaf in the morning light. They saw the seasons as a massive, global alchemical process. Spring was the albedo, the whitening and the flowering. Summer was the rubedo, the heat and the ripening. Autumn was the citrinitas, the yellowing and the harvest. And winter was the nigredo, the cold, dark death that prepared the way for a new life. The alchemist's garden was a place of meditation. It was filled with plants like aconite, mandrake, and angelica. Each plant was a chemical factory, producing scents and medicines that felt like miracles. They believed that by living in harmony with the garden, they could live in harmony with the laws of life. Imagine yourself walking through this garden now. The air is cool and smells of damp earth and blooming jasmine. The moon is a silver albedo in the sky, casting long, soft shadows over the flower beds. Every leaf is a mystery. Every seed is a promise. You are walking through a living laboratory where the work never stops and the results are always beautiful. 11. The Queen of Alchemy, the role of women. History often forgets that some of the greatest alchemists were women. From the very beginning, in ancient Alexandria, there was Mary the Jewess. She is credited with inventing some of the most important tools of the studio, including the bain-marie, or the double boiler, which we still use in our kitchens today. She understood that some transformations required a gentle heat, a warmth that mimicked the womb. Alchemy was often described in feminine terms, as a process of nurturing and birthing the stone. In the Renaissance, women like Isabella Cortese wrote popular books on the secrets of Lady Isabella, sharing alchemical recipes for medicines, cosmetics, and perfumes. They brought the science of the laboratory into the home, showing that the great work could be found in the beauty of a clear complexion or the healing of a fever. This feminine side of alchemy is about care, patience, and intuition. It is about knowing when to wait and when to act. As you settle into your blankets, feel that nurturing, gentle heat surrounding you. You are being cared for by the night. You are in a safe, protected vessel where you can rest and be reborn in the morning. 12. The Philosopher's Stone, the final revelation. After years of labor, after thousands of distillations, the alchemist hoped to find the Philosopher's Stone. But what was it really? To the wisest of the masters, the stone was not a physical object you could hold in your hand. It was a state of being. It was the lapis philosophorum, the point of perfect balance. It was the moment when a person no longer felt the lead of their fears or the mercury of their changing moods. It was a state of permanent, golden peace. It was the realization that the gold was already inside them, waiting to be revealed. The stone was the universal medicine. It healed the mind of its delusions and the heart of its sorrows. It allowed the alchemist to see the world as it truly is, a vibrant, interconnected, and sacred masterpiece. As you reach the end of your journey tonight, realize that you have already found your stone. It is the peace you feel right now. It is the ability to let go of the world and find the gold in the silence. The great work is complete for today. The fire in the Athanor is dying down to a soft, comforting glow. The vessels are still. The symbols are silent. 13. The Alchemist's Dream, a vision of tomorrow. The alchemists did not fail. Though they never turned lead into literal gold, they gave us the foundations of our world. Their retorts became our test tubes. Their spirit of salt became our hydrochloric acid. Their oil of vitriol became our sulfuric acid. They taught us how to ask questions of nature. They taught us that matter is not dead, but full of potential. They gave us the dream of progress, the idea that we can take the world as we find it and make it better, clearer, and more beautiful. But more importantly, they gave us a language for our interior lives. They showed us that our struggles have meaning, that our dark nights are just the negredo before the dawn. They showed us that we are all alchemists, working every day to turn our experiences into wisdom. Imagine the alchemist finally blowing out his candle. The studio is dark now, but the air is still warm. He sleeps deeply, knowing that the work will continue in his dreams. He is at peace with the mystery. And so, dear friends, we close the iron-bound door of the studio. We leave behind the sulfur and the glass, the dragons and the kings. We return to the quiet of our own rooms, but we carry the secret language with us. Alchemy reminds us that everything is in a state of becoming. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is permanent. We are all moving toward our own rubedo, our own state of perfection. The night is the time for that transformation. It is the time for the soul to distill and refine itself in the quiet of sleep. As you drift off, feel the as above, so below connection. The stars are at rest, and so are you. The great work is in the hands of the universe now. You have done enough. You have been refined by the day, and now you are being blessed by the night. May your dreams be filled with the vibrant colors of the phoenix and the clear light of the albedo. May you wake up feeling like gold, bright, precious, and new. Sleep well, dear friends, and find peace in the secret science of the soul. Good night.